All righty, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Red, White, Claret, and Blue Show with your illustrious hosts, myself, Alex Baquero, and Mr. Twinings himself, Christopher Condit. Your American Villain Voices, the T brand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There.
There you go. Your American Villain Voices, don't interrupt me again. As always, serving up the lukewarmest of lukewarm opinions, even while Chris continues to drink hot tea in a very thematic mug. Hop onto YouTube if you want to see that gorgeous mug right there. Two kinds of mugs.
Oh, he's on fire today.
We're swinging today. Everybody, go follow, like, rate, review, subscribe, all the spots beneath our heads. Chris, you do not appear to have made much progress. You might actually be worse since the last time we spoke. Or if you're not feeling worse, you look worse.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're not feeling great, but we're gonna power through. And the moral of the story, as always, is your kids are gross, and they will give you all of their disgusting ailments. How are you today, Alex?
I'm doing better. Back from New York. Great visit. I love the city in and around Christmas time. Union Square Christmas Market. Highly recommend. Do not go to Bryant Square Park. Yeah. And you know what? It was a lot colder than it is down here, which was nice in a way. 'Tis the season, right? It's meant to be cold, snow, all those things. Chris, you know what I hope isn't frosty cold, though? It's how Villa plays on Sunday against Manchester United. Although I do hope Manchester United get a frosty cold reception from the Villa faithful at Villa Park. Chris, we are here to preview Sunday's match against Manchester United, as I said, at home at Villa Park. I believe it is 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. In fact, my friend might be making a triumphant return to watch with our fellow Raleigh villains. I don't know that you are going to recover in time to join us.
Doesn't look like it. No, not a great idea. But I would love to make it if I could. But I just, safety first, as always. And like I said, I have plenty of ailments of various kinds flying around this house right now. So maybe not the best idea.
I mean, it's been 3 months now, so I suppose my birthday present just turns into a Christmas present at this point.
It can be Hanukkah, but blame my wife for that. She'll get really mad when I call her out on the pod. But
well, we're long over. We cannot call her out on the pod anymore.
Bridget, you're the best.
We are long. Thank you,
Bridge. Thank you, Bridge. Thank you.
We need to get that as a drop. So we should put that in, whatever.
We do. Yeah.
We'll record that later. Anyway, I was gonna say we are long overdue for our quarterly hangout with our lovely wives, and I'm not sure at this point that we're gonna have a Q1 hang, so we got to figure something out soon.
Yeah, I generally put that stuff to Bridge because she is more of the social planner than I am. I know, shocker of shockers.
Yeah, I know. You don't want to see me. You don't want to see me unless there is a couple screens and about 40 miles between us.
I was gonna say, I see you twice a week.
Yeah, virtually.
It's not the same. You're right.
Yeah, it's not the same. You know what's not the same? Aston Villa and Manchester United. Chris, so far this season, United, let's be honest, as far as results are concerned, they certainly are better. They're 6th, 26 points. They just had a wild 4-4 draw with Bournemouth earlier this week. I will say Bournemouth have really cooled off since their hot start, so I'm not really sure what to make of that one. But United have had some decent results. They've beat Chelsea, Sunderland, Liverpool, Brighton, Palace, all teams that we respect this year. But at the same time, they've had some bad results. They drew West Ham, who we just beat. They lost to a 10-man Everton side, who were with 10 men for 60 minutes, I think. Drew to Forest, who have been down there all season. Draw to Spurs, while Spurs have been awful. They were smashed by Brentford earlier in the year. So a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde squad. We love, and we spent a long time last episode talking about the expected points table. and the predicted table by Opta. For whatever it's worth, they are fifth in that expected points table. They are predicted to finish seventh. Um, and I think, and this is the last thing I'll say before I let you have your say on Manchester United and Ruben Amorim's men. They feel like the opposite of Villa to me. They are fifth on the expected points table, right? And yet nothing about their eye test tells me that they should be that high. Whereas Villa, very low on the expected points table, but their eye test tells me that they should be a good bit higher than Opta ranks them. So I don't I don't really know what to make of that other than to say watch them smash us now 4-1.
Well, yeah, right. Like that sets up perfectly for that. The like I said in the last pod, you watch sports with your eyes, and statistics are important and can be an indicator of what a team can do, but it's not the be all end all. And I think that Villa, I'm sorry, pardon me. I think that Manchester United have a lot of good players, and you and I talked about I can never say his doggone name. Am Am Amarin.
What is wrong with
I don't know. I
Amorim?
can't say it.
Say Chris.
Amorim.
I am
Amorim. Amarim. There
Amorim.
we go. All right.
There
Like
you go.
I have struggled with that for 18 months. But anyway, I think if there's anything, we both thought he was a good manager coming in, what we knew about him anyway. The question was his flexibility. And I think if anything, he's shown he is not flexible at all and does not make any kind of changes to his side or to his formation. They're going to play a 3-4-3. It doesn't matter who's out there. It doesn't matter what is going on in terms of form or anything like that. They're going to line up and they're going to play the way he wants them to play in that formation, game in and game out.
Well, you know what? He stuck to his principles, and for whatever it's worth, like I said earlier, it seems to be working to a degree. Can't explain why, can't explain how, but they're seeming to get his methods and his steadfast principles, much like our own Unai Emery, seem to be proving to be correct. Chris, they only have one loss in their last 10 and only 3 draws in that too. Like that's a pretty good return.
Yep.
In terms of how he's implementing that 3-4-3, they possess the ball a lot. They take a lot of shots of fairly good quality. When they're away, they might be a little bit worse from open play, but they are very effective from set pieces. So when they're away from home, 43% of their goals happen on set pieces. And then they play a lot down their wings and stay on the front foot. There's a lot in the middle and attacking thirds of the field in terms of where they're controlling the ball. So I think you see a couple contrasting styles here, in that they clearly want to get forward. Villa obviously want to possess the ball as well. So it is going to be two teams trying to dominate it a little bit. Defensively, interestingly, they don't really press all that high. So this might be another one where Villa needs to kind of pull them out. But they in turn are also weak against set pieces, and we know that Villa's quality there. So I think this, honestly, stylistically, is going to be a very, very interesting matchup to watch. Probably not the way we might have expected it to be at the outset of the year.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I didn't realize that they were in such great form until you put it in the rundown that they only had one loss in their last 10. And like, you'll take that return pretty much any day of the week, unless you're fighting to be near or at the top of the table, where you really need to just win constantly to stay with the teams around you. So credit to the side, to that squad, for playing much better, at least seeming to play much better, getting the results. Whether or not they're playing better is a question. I think you're exactly right in terms of what you called out about the contrasting styles. And it's going to be interesting to see if Villa and Emery and Villa can get United to come out like they did Arsenal. Like I think that's going to be the blueprint in some ways, but to counteract that, you have the counter blueprint in seeing what Emery did to Arsenal to carve them open once they came forward. Given that Man United are not strong defending against fast attacks, counterattacks, things like that, I don't expect that they'll be drawn out, or I think it'll be probably in their mind or in the drilling to stay home and maintain your defensive shape throughout the game. So I think that's going to be the question of who blinks first. It's almost like a game of chicken. And I could be totally wrong about how this ends up playing out, but I see it that way because I see two managers who are going to try and impose their style on the game. And Emery is not going to want Manchester United to be able to just sit deep defensively and not have to defend that middle part of the pitch.
Yeah, and listen, we'll get into who won't be available a little bit later on, but like Manchester United do have some very quick, skillful players in attack, and so the other thing that Villa need to be cautious about is if Manchester United sit deep. Like we said, they like to attack quickly down the wings and they create a lot of good scoring opportunities. So if you overcommit and get turned over, they are very liable to hit you the other way. Conversely, if Villa can figure out how to draw them out, potentially even cede a little bit of possession to them, even if they work their way up the pitch slowly, the fact that they are vulnerable to counterattacks and some of these more skillful players, more direct attacks, tells me that Manchester United are liable to overcommit when they kind of feel like they're getting a little bit of a foothold in the game. So can you kind of run that trap, draw them in, turn them over, and then release the Ollies, the Morgan Rogerses, whoever to kind of get in behind. Yeah, it's two styles that oppose each other fairly well, and so I think it's going to be a fun one. It'll be a fun one to watch, and hopefully Villa turn up on top. So, Chris, let's talk about those players. Usually in this segment, we talk about the players that we want to watch out for. We pick the Callum Wilsons and say that they're super dangerous and we should be quaking in our boots. But because this is the start of AFCON, I think we need to point out the players that actually won't be there for Manchester United. So first off, Casemiro, I believe yellow card accumulation will not be available. So that takes one of their more steady, consistent presences in defensive midfield, potentially opens some things up there. But Mbeumo, man, I was a little skeptical about this signing at the outset because he was one who grossly overperformed his expected goals last year, not to bring it back to that argument again. And yet he has been, I would say, everything that they kind of paid for. He will not be there. Mazraoui will not be there. Amad Diallo, great young player, will not be there. He'll be with Ivory Coast. So, that's four consistent starters that this Manchester United team will be without. Not to say that they don't have depth on the bench. They do, because they spend £1 billion every single offseason. But that is four guys that Ruben Amorim seems to really rely on that Villa won't have to contend with.
Yeah, I think the two that mentioned that are the biggest to me are Casemiro for the yellow card accumulation, and he got one in the Brentford game, which put him over the limit. I'm sorry, did I say Brentford? Bournemouth game. Pardon me.
You were thinking of Mbeumo coming from Brentford.
Yeah, but that, like, a team that is already weak in the defensive midfield, you take one of their better players off. You hope that would create more chances for Villa to really control the ball through the middle of the park. And I think that we've seen it time and again with other teams. When you lose that defensive midfield solidity, it becomes difficult to defend generally. And Manchester United are already a little bit leaky as it is. Like their XG defending isn't bad, but they do tend to give up some goals. I mean, just look back at the most recent game they played against Bournemouth that ended 4-4. So you hope that missing piece will lead to chances on the other end. But also, I can't say any more about Mbeumo than what you said. He's been such a great player for them. He's been exactly what they needed and what they signed, and to lose him due to AFCON has got to hurt their attack. There's no question about it. So I think this is an opportune moment to be playing a relatively informed team at home, and I think that Villa need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, so, the Casemiro one is interesting because despite him being a mainstay in their squad, I would say that he's not at this point in his career, obviously incredible career that he's had. He's not someone that I'm necessarily all that worried about. He is not very athletic anymore. He's not really going to get around. He's in there for his intelligence, his expertise, his leadership, ability to pick a pass, whatever. And the way Villa play, unfortunately, plays into a guy who's not very mobile because we've got so much that's kind of cutting inside, cutting to the middle. He doesn't need to move all that much to defend it. So against Villa, he's someone I worry about. The fact that he won't be there, I think, to your point, is going to be absolutely huge. Open up a lot of gaps for the Rogerses, the Tielemans, the Buendias, the Mullins, the McGinns, whatever, to kind of operate in. And so I do think that creates an opportunity amongst those attacking three for Villa to really get after them a little bit. So, Chris, what are you expecting from Villa and Unai Emery? Because I do think that there's a lot of ways that we can go with this one.
Yeah, I had some interesting thoughts as I was trying to put this together. But the first and foremost is if Emi Martinez is healthy, it's Emi Martinez. But that is dependent on his health. I think at the back, we know Pau Torres is still going to be out injured. So it's going to be Cash, Konsa, Lindelof, and Luka Dean. And now I think when you get to the midfield, defensive midfield in particular, does Emery put Youri Tielemans at that number 10 role? Or does he stick with the double pivot of Kamara and Tielemans like we've seen for so long? And I think that United being down in attack and losing Casemiro is going to change somewhat Unai Emery's plan. And I think we are going to see Tielemans at the 10. And I think you'll see Kamara and Onana playing as we have, or Onana and Kamara, more in line with what I was doing before. And then, like I said, Tielemans at the 10, McGinn and Rogers and Ollie Watkins up top. That's I think where I've landed, but I could see any number of changes to that lineup because we're in a position now where we've got a decent amount of squad depth that can attack this Manchester United defense.
Yeah, no, I had the exact same lineup, and it really does hinge on Casemiro not being available. I think that were he to play, you maybe want to pull Youri into the double pivot so that he can pick some passes away from where Casemiro is going to be occupying space. But since that you don't have that experience, that ability to kind of cover some of those passing lanes, I think he'll be able to operate a little bit further forward. I think that you do need to respect still the attack that Manchester United has with Cunha, with Xerxes is rounding into a little bit of form. Šeško hasn't been great since coming over, but Bruno Fernandes.
I mean, he's such a good player.
In addition, having those two defensive midfielders there really will help with him and his movement as he kind of goes around. So I do think that this is a little bit as much trying to nullify Manchester United's threat as it is to give Villa the attacking impetus forward. And like we said, Morgan Rogers has another gear, can obviously carry through the lines. John McGinn is showing a little bit more of a burst of pace this year than he has in years past. He's definitely willing to carry the ball as well. And so those are probably our outlets, with Youri dropping a little bit deeper and picking out some of those passes. So can't say it again. Gonna be an interesting game. Very interested to see how teams continue to attack the Ezri Konsa, Victor Lindelof combination, because that obviously has not been great over the past.
I think Lindelof has played pretty well, but as a combination, It's a matter of minutes, like we've talked about at other positions
Yeah.
as well. It's just a matter of comfort between the two.
And we are in the festive period, so normally you would expect to see some kind of rotation as Unai Emery tries to use two lineups through these matchups. But the elimination of the Boxing Day game really changes things. So you've got a full 6 days, pretty much a whole game week until we play Chelsea. So I don't expect much rotation. I do think that probably when we get to that Chelsea Arsenal 2 games in 3 days back to back, we might see a little bit more rotation so that we can play strong lineups in both of those. But
yeah, I think you're probably right about that. But I mean, you could see changes, but I don't think, given the amount of time between each game, including the last
yeah,
game, the West Ham
not
game,
necessary.
it doesn't
Yeah,
make sense. Yeah.
yeah, not necessary. All right, Chris.
Plus, Pau
Well,
Torres will be back. They say by the end of the festive period. It seems like.
that's good because we can't go too long. You're right. He has serviced admirably, especially on his weaker foot, Victor Lindelof. But we're not
the same.
We're not the same with him there, and we won't necessarily end up where we want to end up if we're playing Ezri Konsa and Victor Lindelof for the rest of the season. So get better, Pau Torres. We love you on the Red, White, Claret, and Blue show.
That's right. Always have.
Chris, anything else that you want to add on this one?
I'm all good.
All right. Well, then we will likely be back Sunday or Monday evening for a Manchester United recap. TBD when we decide to do a Chelsea preview, but I anticipate with the holidays we'll probably want to knock those out back to back. So, yeah, keep an eye out for a long one. Sometime hitting your feeds early next week. And until then, Chris, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Hi, Mom and Dad.